The storm rolled in fast, the kind that made streetlights flicker and windows tremble, and that was when Leora realized she might be spending this night alone. She stood beneath the awning of the old community hall, her hands wrapped around a lukewarm cup of cocoa, trying to pretend the sinking feeling in her chest was just the weather and not disappointment. Inside, the farewell gathering for her internship team had faded into awkward goodbyes. One by one, everyone she had worked with for the past few months had slipped out early, claiming early mornings, long drives, or promises waiting at home. Everyone except the one person she secretly hoped would stay. But he had been the first to leave. Kaylin Valen, always arriving early, always disappearing before anyone could ask why. Mysterious in the quiet, steady way that felt both reassuring and confusing. Leora had tried to hide the way her eyes followed him in meetings. She had tried even harder to hide the sting she felt tonight when he left without saying anything more than a polite nod. She stepped outside to breathe, letting the chilled wind brush away the warmth of the crowded room behind her. The night carried that hush right before a downpour, the kind that made her thoughts louder than usual. The truth she wouldn't say aloud was simple. She had grown attached. Not recklessly, not dramatically, just quietly, the way someone grows fond of a sunrise they never meant to watch. She sipped her cocoa, watching the empty parking lot. The last car pulled away, its headlights sweeping across puddles. The hall fell silent behind her, lights dimming one by one. Leora told herself she could be fine with the night ending like this. She could walk back to her apartment, curl up with her blanket, and pretend she hadn't hoped for something more. She reached for her coat zipper, then froze. Another set of headlights appeared at the far end of the street, moving slowly, casting long shadows across the wet pavement. The car eased to a stop right in front of the hall. Her breath caught when she recognized the vehicle. Kaylin stepped out, hood pulled over his dark hair, rain tapping softly against his jacket. He paused when he saw her, as if surprised she was still there. Leora's heart kicked against her ribs. He walked toward her with careful steps, not rushed, not hesitant, just steady, the way he always was. "You're still here," he said, his voice low but clear under the rumble of distant thunder. "I could say the same about you," Leora replied, trying to sound casual even though she felt anything but. Kaylin glanced toward the dark windows of the hall. "I thought everyone had gone home." "They did." He nodded slowly. "I left too quickly earlier." There was something about the way he said it, like he regretted it more than he expected to. Leora shifted her cup between her hands. "Long day. It's okay." Kaylin exhaled, his breath visible in the cold night air. "It's not. I should have said something before walking out." Her thoughts tangled. Said what? Kaylin looked at her directly then. Really looked. The way he never did in a room full of people. His eyes held something she couldn't quite name. Nervous, maybe? Or determined. "I came back because I didn't want the night to end like that," he said quietly. A soft roll of thunder echoed across the sky. Rain began to fall in gentle drops. Leora felt her voice catch. "Why?" He stepped a little closer, enough that she could see raindrops sliding down the side of his hood. "Because," he said, "there's something I haven't told you yet." The rain thickened around them, steady and rhythmic, like the world had leaned in to listen. Leora's heart thudded in her chest. "What is it?" she whispered. Kaylin opened his mouth to speak, then stopped, glancing back at his car as if wrestling with a thought he wasn't sure he had the right to say. He looked at her again, eyes warmer than the stormy air around them. "I came back tonight," he murmured, Because I didn't want to hold back anymore. Leora felt her breath freeze, suspended between fear and hope. Before she could ask what he meant, Kaylin took a quiet step forward. But then, the hall lights behind her flickered sharply, interrupting the moment, casting long shadows across both of them. Kaylin looked up, startled, as if something had changed in the night around them. And Leora felt her heart race, knowing whatever he meant to tell her was about to shift the entire direction of her life. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. The hall lights continued to flicker behind Leora, glowing and dimming like a pulse out of rhythm. The sudden shift made the night feel sharper, as if the world around them had leaned closer, waiting for whatever Kaylin was about to reveal. He glanced toward the doorway again, then back at her, rain gathering at the edge of his hood. "I didn't think you'd still be here," he said softly. "I figured you'd be halfway home by now." Leora tightened her grip on her cup. "I just needed fresh air. I wasn't ready to leave yet." Kaylin's expression softened beneath the storm haze, the streetlight flickering above them. "Good. I was hoping I'd find you." Her heart fluttered uneasily, a mixture of hope and disbelief. "You were hoping to find me?" He nodded once, slow and deliberate. "There's something I should have told you before tonight ended." She swallowed, unsure how to steady her breathing. For weeks, she had wondered if the gentle attention he gave her meant something more. But she had always talked herself out of it, reminding herself that assumptions lead to heartbreak. Yet here he was, in the rain, saying he came back because of her. "What did you want to tell me?" she asked, her voice barely above the patter of raindrops. Kaylin hesitated, running a hand over the back of his neck, as if searching for the right place to begin. "I'm not good at this," he admitted, talking about things that matter. But tonight felt wrong the second I walked away. She felt a gentle ache bloom behind her ribs. "It's okay. You don't have to force anything." He shook his head. "No, I do, because if I don't say it now, I might lose the chance." A gust of wind swept across the lot, rustling the trees and carrying the low rumble of thunder. Leora stepped a little closer to him without thinking, seeking warmth in the cold night. Kaylin let out a slow breath. "These past months, working with you, talking with you, just being around you, it made everything feel different, better." Her heart skipped. "Different how?" He looked at her with an intensity she hadn't seen from him before, something vulnerable yet grounded. "You make things feel clearer," he said, "lighter. And every time you smiled at me during one of our long meetings or brought me one of those ridiculous flavored teas you like," he shook his head as if scolding himself, "I kept trying not to hope." Leora blinked. Hope for what? Kaylin opened his mouth, but the door to the hall suddenly creaked, releasing a faint glow as the motion sensor lights inside hummed back to life. The interruption drew both their eyes. "That's odd," Leora murmured. "I thought everything was shut down." Kaylin gave the door a wary glance. Maybe the storm triggered something. The door drifted shut again, leaving them in the hush of falling rain. Leora looked back to him. "Kaylin, what were you going to say?" He drew in a steadying breath, the rain dampening the edges of his jacket. "I was going to say, I didn't expect to care about someone the way I care about you." The words landed softly, but they reverberated through her entire chest. She felt warmth flood her cheeks as the wind tugged at her hair. "Kaylin, I know the timing is strange," he said. "The internship is ending. People are going their separate ways. Maybe it's foolish to say all of this now." It's not foolish, she whispered. He searched her eyes, looking for any sign of discomfort. I came back tonight because the thought of leaving without telling you how I feel, it didn't sit right. I didn't want to stay silent and regret it. Leora's breath trembled, the moment settling around them like the soft glow of a lantern. I'm glad you came back, she said. I didn't want the night to end like that either. His expression shifted, relief flickering across his face. But before he could step closer, another sharp crack of thunder rolled overhead, louder this time. A flash of lightning lit the sky behind him, painting the clouds in pale white. The wind picked up again, pushing sheets of rain across the pavement. Kaylin glanced over Leora's shoulder, brows drawing together. Leora, do you see that? She turned toward the hall. The entrance light was flickering again, but this time it didn't feel random. The glow pulsed in steady, even intervals, almost like a signal. A chill traveled down her back. Kaylin's voice lowered. That doesn't look normal. Leora swallowed hard, the cocoa in her hands suddenly forgotten. No, it doesn't. A strange hum drifted through the air, barely audible beneath the rain. Kaylin stepped closer to her, his expression shifting from tender to protective, as if the night had suddenly changed from something intimate to something uncertain. And in that moment, Leora knew. Whatever confession had begun between them had just collided with something neither of them understood. Something waiting in the dark. The humming grew a little stronger, threading through the rain like a soft vibration beneath the air itself. Leora felt it first in her fingertips, then in her spine, as if something unseen had brushed past her. Kaylin stepped to her side instinctively, his shoulders tense beneath his soaked jacket. Stay close, he murmured. She nodded, though her pulse had already quickened. The hall had always been an ordinary place. Old floors, creaky doors, warm carpets worn from community events. Nothing about it had ever felt strange. Until tonight. The entrance light continued flickering in those measured, deliberate pulses, casting thin rays across the empty lot. Beyond it, the building looked almost alive, like it was breathing with the storm. Leora swallowed. Do you hear that humming? It feels too steady. Kaylin's eyes narrowed. Yes, and it isn't the generator. That thing barely works on a good day. Another flicker, another hum, a rhythm forming. They both stared at the glow until the next pulse rolled across the wet pavement like a wave of light. What is going on? Leora whispered. Kaylin shook his head slowly. I don't know, but we should get inside. Something might be malfunctioning. She hesitated. Are you sure we should? It feels wrong. He looked at her gently. I won't let anything happen to you, I promise. Her breath caught at the quiet certainty in his tone. Even with confusion swirling through the night, his presence grounded her. Steady, familiar, the one constant in a moment that suddenly felt anything but ordinary. They walked toward the hall entrance together, the rain slanting sideways as wind pushed across the lot. The humming grew louder with each step, rising in a low, vibrating swell. Leora clutched her coat tighter. It sounds like it's coming from inside. Kaylin reached the door first. He placed his hand against the metal handle, then paused. It's warm, he said, startled. It shouldn't be warm. Leora stepped closer, feeling the soft heat radiating from the frame. Kaylin, maybe we should call someone instead. Before she could finish, the lights inside flickered again. Once, twice, 3 times, then stabilized in an eerie, steady glow. Kaylin swallowed hard. Okay, that's not normal. What do you think it means? Leora murmured. I don't know. He turned to her, softer now. But we don't have to go in if you feel unsafe. We can stay out here or leave or... She shook her head before he could finish. No, I don't want you going in alone, and if something's wrong inside, someone should know. His expression warmed, subtle but unmistakable. Together then. He pushed the door open. A soft wash of warm air drifted out into the rain. Too warm, almost like stepping into a greenhouse after winter. Leora felt her pulse skip. The lobby should have been dark. Every staff member had left hours ago, and the janitor had clocked out long before the last guests disappeared. But the place glowed. Not brightly. Not unnaturally. Just wrong. A faint light shimmered from the far end of the hall, moving like reflections on water, even though the floor was dry. Kaylin stepped in carefully, scanning the room. Do you smell that? Leora nodded. Like something metallic. Exactly. They moved deeper inside. The humming they'd heard outside was clearer now, almost musical in tone, soft, layered, like distant chimes carried on a breeze. Leora's voice quivered. Is something broken? Kaylin lifted his hand slightly, signaling her to stay behind him as they approached the shimmering glow at the corridor's end. The deeper they walked, the more intense the humming became. Not threatening, just strange. Like a song from somewhere far away. They reached the doorway to the multi-purpose room, the same room where the farewell gathering had been held only hours earlier. Kaylin paused, then carefully pushed the door open. Both of them froze. The room was empty, completely empty. Tables, chairs, decorations, everything that had been there earlier was gone. Not rearranged, not stacked. Gone. Leora's breath trembled. Kaylin, we cleaned up after the party. None of this makes sense. Kaylin stepped inside slowly, eyes sweeping the bare floor. There's no way someone cleared this room in the last hour. This would take a whole team. The shimmering glow they had seen from the hall drifted across the floor again, like a ripple of pale light that moved without a source. Leora grabbed Kaylin's sleeve. Look, there! A wave of soft luminescence rolled across the center of the room, silent and fluid, like moonlight dancing on invisible water. Kaylin took a protective half-step in front of her. Stay behind me, he whispered. Something is here. The humming deepened, resonating through the walls. Leora's voice shook. Kaylin, what is happening? He held her hand tightly. Before he could answer, the glow in the center of the room pulsed once, bright and purposeful, as if responding to their presence. And in that blinding moment, Leora felt the air around them shift, as if the room itself were waking up. The light pulsed again, brighter this time, spreading across the bare room like a slow sunrise made of silver instead of gold. Leora felt the warmth of it wash across her skin, gentle, almost comforting, yet so utterly unfamiliar that goosebumps rose along her arms. She tightened her grip on Kaylin's hand. Kaylin, it feels like it's aware of us. He didn't answer right away. His eyes were fixed on the shifting glow, studying it with a careful, steady focus she had never seen from him before. You're right, he murmured finally. It's reacting. The light rippled once more, then slowly condensed toward the center of the room, gathering into a soft, swirling sphere no bigger than a lantern. Kaylin stepped closer, moving with deliberate caution. Leora, stay right behind me. If anything changes, we back away slowly. She swallowed, but nodded. I trust you. His hand tightened around hers for a moment, just enough to reassure her, before he gently guided them closer to the shimmering sphere. The hum shifted again, layering into a soft chorus of tones that reminded Leora of distant wind chimes. The air carried a faint metallic scent, sharp but not unpleasant. It's beautiful, she whispered. Kaylin exhaled slowly. It is, but I've never seen anything like it. They stopped, an arm's length away from the sphere. It floated just above the floor, spinning slowly, reflecting pale ripples of light across the walls. Leora felt a sudden tug of intuition, soft yet certain. I don't think it wants to hurt us. Kaylin glanced at her. What makes you say that? I don't know, she hesitated. It feels curious, like it's trying to communicate. Kaylin watched the sphere again, brow furrowing. You might be right. Another pulse of light radiated outward. This time, when the glow reached their feet, it didn't stop. It climbed upward, gently brushing over their hands. Leora gasped softly. It's warm. Kaylin's voice dropped to a careful whisper. Leora, look. The sphere began shifting, stretching, swirling, reshaping itself, until faint shapes flickered inside it. Not clear images, but impressions, shadows of movement, echoes of color. Leora's breath caught. Are those memories? Kaylin's expression tightened, something unspoken flickering through his eyes. No, not memories. These are... The humming swelled suddenly, filling the room with a low resonance that vibrated through the floor. Then, a soft voice formed from the tones. Not speaking a language, not using words, just impressions woven into sound. Warmth, recognition, a sense of searching. Leora clutched Kaylin's sleeve. It's asking something. Kaylin stared at the sphere with an expression she couldn't read. Part wonder, part conflict, part something deeper. It's in looking for someone, he murmured, for a long time. She turned toward him. How do you know that? Kaylin hesitated, a long breath pulling through his chest. Because I've felt something like this before. Before? When? He didn't answer immediately. His gaze stayed fixed on the sphere, which pulsed brighter, as if urging him on. Leora stepped closer to him. Kaylin, what aren't you telling me? The lights around them flickered again. The sphere glowed intensely, then steadied. Kaylin finally met her eyes. When I was a kid, he said softly, I used to hear a sound like this. Not exactly the same, but close. My grandfather told me it meant I was connected to something rare, something that might find me one day. Leora's voice trembled. Connected how? He shook his head. He never explained. He passed before I was old enough to ask. The sphere pulsed quickly, 3 short bursts of light. Leora felt her breath hitch. Kaylin, is this what your grandfather meant? I don't know, he whispered, but it feels like it. The sphere drifted closer, stopping directly in front of him. The soft chimes grew clearer, the tones weaving into something that sounded almost like a warm greeting. Leora looked between Kaylin and the sphere. It's choosing you. Kaylin swallowed hard. I didn't ask for this. The sphere responded with a wave of gentle light that brushed over his chest, almost like a hand pressing softly against his heart. Kaylin staggered a step back, breath catching. Leora! Kaylin, what's wrong? He pressed a hand against his ribs, eyes wide. It's showing me something. Leora stepped forward quickly, catching his arm as he swayed. What do you see? His voice came out shaky, barely held together. A place. Not here. Not anywhere I've ever been. The sphere pulsed brighter, surrounding him with warm silver light. Leora's heart surged into her throat. Kaylin! Before she could pull him away, the sphere extended a ripple of light toward her too. Gentle, curious, inviting. The hum swelled around them, filling the room with a soft, resonant glow. Kaylin reached for her hand, gripping it tightly as the light wrapped around them both. Leora, he whispered, voice trembling, I think it wants to take us somewhere. The sphere drifted closer, slow, warm, certain. And then, with a single bright pulse, the room around them began to shift. The world blurred into soft streaks of silver and pale blue as the sphere's light folded around them. Leora felt her feet lift slightly from the ground, though she didn't feel weightless, just held, as if the air itself carried her carefully. Kaylin's hand tightened around hers. I'm here, he murmured, steadying her as the room dissolved into swirling light. She held on with both hands. I'm not letting go. The hum around them deepened, becoming something warm and melodic. The light shifted, thickened, and then, slowly, it faded. They were no longer in the multi-purpose room. Leora blinked as the brightness softened into a gentle glow, revealing a place that resembled a vast, quiet plain under a sky filled with floating strands of silver light. The ground beneath their feet felt solid, but not like earth, smooth, warm, almost like polished stone. Kaylin turned in a slow circle, awe flickering across his face. Leora, I've seen this. She stared at him. Seen it where? He hesitated, his voice unsteady. In those dreams I told you about, the ones I never understood. Before she could respond, the sphere appeared again, smaller now, flickering like a heartbeat. It hovered in front of them, pulsing with gentle, welcoming light. Leora stepped closer. It brought us here. But why? The sphere gave a soft ripple of brightness and projected faint patterns into the air, shapes, waves, echoes. Kaylin watched carefully, his eyes narrowing as the symbols shifted in front of him. It's trying to show us something, he said quietly. Something about this place. The light expanded, forming an image this time, a vast landscape filled with hundreds of shimmering spheres, drifting like stars above the plains. But gradually, those spheres flickered, dimmed, and disappeared, leaving only one remaining. This one. Leora's breath caught. They're gone. Kaylin nodded slowly, and this one survived, alone. The sphere dimmed, its glow softening like a sigh. Leora's heart tightened. It's been searching all this time. For someone connected to it, Kaylin added, someone it could respond to. He looked down at his own hand, still gently glowing from where the sphere had touched him. My grandfather knew, he whispered. He didn't understand it completely, but he knew it was real. He told me that one day something might call to me, and I'd have to choose whether to answer. Leora stepped beside him, and tonight it called. He turned toward her, eyes filled with something tender and conflicted. I wasn't going to come back. I almost drove home and tried to forget how I felt about you. But something in me kept pulling me back to the hall. You came back for me, she said softly. I did, he replied. But maybe I was meant to be there for this too. The sphere floated closer, brushing a soft beam of light across both of their joined hands. The glow wrapped around their fingers, warm and gentle. It wants us together, Leora whispered. Not just you, us. Kaylin looked at her with a mixture of astonishment and something deeper, something steadier. Maybe that's why I felt drawn to you from the start. Maybe it wasn't just coincidence. Leora held his gaze. Or maybe we were meant to choose each other, no matter what brought us here. He exhaled, and the tension in his shoulders shifted into something calmer. Leora, before everything happened tonight, I was going to tell you something. She stepped closer, her eyes searching his. You can still tell me. Kaylin raised a hand and gently brushed a raindrop, now dried by the strange warmth of this place, from her cheek. I care about you, he said softly, more than I expected, more than I've let myself admit. Her heart ached, in the soft, full way hope feels when it finally finds a place to land. I care about you too, she whispered. I've just been scared to say it. A warm wind drifted across the plains, carrying faint, melodic tones that felt almost like encouragement. The sphere pulsed gently, its glow brushing their hands once more. Leora smiled at it softly. What now? She asked. Kaylin looked at the sphere, then at the shimmering horizon, then back at her. I think it brought us here to decide. It's asking whether we'll help it or go home and leave this mystery behind. Leora gently intertwined her fingers with his. Whatever we choose, she said, we choose together. Talen's expression warmed, soft and sure. Together. The sphere glowed brighter, as if accepting their answer. And slowly, very slowly, the world around them began to shift again, drawing them back toward the place they came from. The hum softened into something peaceful. The light wrapped around them once more, and Leora felt her heart settle into a quiet certainty she had never known before. Whatever the night had awakened, whatever bond had formed between them and the mysterious sphere, it had led them to the truth that mattered most. They weren't alone. Not in the hall. Not in the strange plains of light. Not in the life ahead. As the silver glow faded, Kaylin squeezed her hand gently, his voice warm and steady. Leora, this is just the beginning.